Hey there, special educators. Welcome to Autism Academy 360, a podcast to making your job as special education teachers easier. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Abby, a behavior specialist. And together, we have over 25 years of special education experience.
And I'm a veteran autism teacher. We both are passionate about empowering you with practical teaching strategies and actionable tips and tricks that will help you thrive in your role.
Whether you're a seasoned educator looking for fresh insights, a newbie navigating your first classroom, or a parent of a neurodivergent child, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things autism.
So let's get started with today's episode. Hey there, special educators, and welcome back to another episode of Autism Academy 360. I'm your host, Lisa Holladay, and today we're diving into the world of inclusion classrooms. Today we're going to be talking all about how to set up a structured work area that supports both gen ed and special education students in the inclusion setting. If you've ever wondered how to manage the chaos and meet the needs of all students, especially in a busy classroom, this episode is for you. I know firsthand how tricky it can be to kind of find the balance in an inclusion classroom, especially now that I am in that setting. I have co-taught in this classroom for a total of 7 weeks, and it can be overwhelming at times, especially when you're juggling so many elements like centers or work tables or work groups or behavior plans. But today, I kind of want to walk you through the key steps in creating a structured work area that not only helps your students thrive, but also keeps your classroom organized and efficient. So before we dive into the details, let's really break down what inclusion is. In simple terms, it just means you're creating a space where gen ed setting or gen ed kids and special education students are interacting, learning, and growing together. They are sharing the same space. But this doesn't mean that things will run smoothly from day one. There's a lot of trial and error, especially as I learn to work in my co-teaching setting. So it does take a little bit of time to kind of figure out what students need to succeed and how to make it all work. But once we have that right support in place, the results are really amazing. So how do we go about setting up a structured work area in this type of setting? Let's break it down. Number one, you have to create the structured workplace, right? The actual physical place. So picture this, a central location in your classroom where students can focus on their tasks without constant transition or distractions. It's a space that students can return to throughout the day, whether they're working on assignments or behavior tasks, or even during less structured time like morning meeting or a circle time, right? Now, what makes this work table special is that it's highly organized and accessible to all of my identified students. So in my classroom, we use visual supports. This might look like a work mat or behavior visuals kind of right on the table. Everything is right there within reach. So students are getting up, wandering around, kind of asking questions. So especially engaging in those maladaptive behaviors. So we want to, for example, in a pre-K classroom, you could laminate visual supports like want, help, and more, which you can attach right to the table with Velcro. This really keeps supports from being kind of swiped off or misplaced. Once in the past, I had a student in particular that would constantly knock off materials from the table when they're frustrated. But once we kind of secured everything down with Velcro, it became a game changer. So you want to make sure that everything is secure, especially once those maladaptive behaviors arise. So let's talk about a quick example. So say you have a student who's struggling during, those long circle times or morning meeting times. You have a student getting restless and distracted. Let's call him Johnny. So Johnny has these disruptive behaviors. You want to set up a work table with a task box system in place, all secured down with Velcro. So during circle time, instead of wandering around, Johnny knows exactly where he needs to go. He could engage in a quiet task while still being part of the classroom. This reduces stress for Johnny and really keeps the room running smoothly. Step number 2, eliminating disruptive transitions. We all know that transitions are one of the biggest triggers for disruptive behaviors in the classroom. By having a designated work area, you cut down on unnecessary transitions. For example, instead of students moving around to find visual supports or materials, everything is in one place. This consistency helps students feel secure and kind of minimizes those chances of behaviors escalating. This structured space works wonders, especially during class engaged times like snack time or free play. You might have a student who is used to roaming around the room during snack time, or maybe you have a study hall that the student just kind of wanders. But now they know that the work table is their go-to space for tasks, and this can be a huge relief to both the student and the teacher. All right, step number 3 is creating multi-purpose visual supports. So in your structured work area, having those visuals there is a game changer. So let's face it, our students need so many supports, and it's easy for those to become scattered or lost. This happens all of the time. That's why we combine multiple visuals into one system. For example, if you create personalized work mats with visuals or key visuals, maybe it has things like want, help, and more. These visual mats also have Velcro so they could be easily removed and used by different students at different times. For example, let's call this student Susan. Maybe Susan has difficulty asking for help. You can simply add a visual that said help right on that work mat. When Susan got stuck on a task, they could simply point to help, and a teacher could intervene before that led to a meltdown. This small adjustment makes huge differences in their ability to stay on task and kind of avoid unnecessary stress. All right, step 4 is establishing storage solutions. Now, let's be real. We're all juggling dozens of materials, work boxes, file folders, right? So in a classroom, you could have your co-teacher and yourself designate a specific spot for all of those work boxes and materials. This might sound really simple, but knowing exactly where everything is can save so much time and prevent chaos that often happens and leads to those challenging behaviors. There's been times where I am constantly hunting for work tasks or worksheets or misplaced file folders, and students get restless, and it was affecting their ability to focus. So once we kind of designated a cleared storage area where we could switch out tasks on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, students become much more focused and engaged because their work is readily available and we're not constantly hunting for things, right? All right, step number 5, this is the last step. You want to incorporate core boards. So talk with your SLP on introducing core boards with a fringe board, which just includes common visual items like colors or numbers or body parts. These boards will become essential during lessons when you don't have the exact visual you need, right? So say the student is playing with Play-Doh, you might have a fringe board for Play-Doh. Say you're talking about the Civil War, you might have a fringe board for core boards on the Civil War so that when you have that lesson pop up, you know exactly what visuals you need. So this allows you to kind of reinforce concepts in real time without interrupting the flow of the lesson. Let's say, for example, during a counting lesson, one of your students is struggling to keep up with the group. You can quickly pull out a core board to show the visuals for numbers, and it helps them stay engaged and participate in the activity. It really is just a small adjustment, but it really does keep students connected to the learning instead of becoming frustrated. So there you have it, simple but effective strategies for kind of setting up a structured work area within the inclusion classroom. So whether you're working in preschool or middle school or high school, the principles still remain the same. You want to create a space that's organized, accessible, and structured in ways that helps students succeed without becoming overwhelmed. So there you have it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed these strategies. Until next time, happy structuring. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Autism Academy 360. We hope that you've gained some tips and motivation to fuel your week ahead.
Before you go, don't forget to hit that follow button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. If you want to show support, head to Apple Podcasts and leave your rating and review.
Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and most importantly, stay connected. We'll catch you in the next episode.